To be assertive or to not be assertive? That is the question. Now, if you're asking yourself, hey, how do I increase my assertive leadership skills? Do not worry, no worries. I got you. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about and breaking down our 6-step framework on how we create more assertive leaders. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up, folks? Granison Shines here with Seduire International. Thank you very much for watching this video. Today, we are going to be breaking down our 6-step framework that we've never revealed before into the public eye. We usually take this information I'm going to give you today, and we teach it in the back end, when I said back end of the organizations that we're working with. We go inside, we meet with their leaders, and we take them through a 12-week process, I should say a 12-week coaching process, coach and do methodology, and how to become a more assertive leader. Now, if you have the rudiments of leadership, this will be easier. If you're a new leader, this may be a little bit unfamiliar in some of the areas that we're going to talk about today, but either way, it's all about how you practice the information that we're going to talk about today. And trust me, it's not that it's difficult, it just has to be repeated in order to master the process, right? Framework. That's what we're going to operate. Before we dive into that, let's talk about what we do here at Seduire International. You look here, we equip leaders with the practical frameworks that align people, processes, and systems, PPS, to create measurable improvements when it comes to their productivity, their efficiency, and ultimately their profitability. That's what it's all about. So we can pull the levers of PPS and we can adjust those in order to create a more profitable organization. So if you look at the bottom here, we talk about people, processes, and systems. We empower, engage, and align the teams. This is all about the organization becoming better, not just the individuals. Let me say that again. This is all about the organization becoming a better organization, not just the people. The people is a good byproduct. Well, let's say the organization is a good byproduct because we do instill these principles within the people. We talk about processes. How do we do certain things? Every leader should have the mindset of understanding processes and how processes are key to how the business can sustain efficiency. That's what it's all about. And then when you integrate the systems and technological systems, even some frameworks or some other opportunities that your organization have, there's where the alignment comes from. We want to create alignment. And we have seen time after time that when you increase and pull the right levers and you have everything aligned in PPS, what happens is that there is an increase of productivity, output of the organization in terms of work done with positive results increase. There's also increase of efficiencies. Inefficiencies drop, wastes drop in an organization, and the organization becomes more fluid. And then, of course, that is also representative of increasing profitability within your organization. So there's a direct correlation between pulling the levers and getting those levers adjusted within the PPS and having the output of the PEP, the PEP, productivity, efficiency, and profitability all aligned. That's what it's all about. We have a lot of fun doing that. So let's talk about what we're going to discuss today. So I'm going to give to you a framework that you can utilize and continue to utilize to maintain your assertiveness. Now, this comes with a promise. I promise that if you utilize what we teach here today, because I've seen it, I have witnesses, and we have results online as far as our reviews and everything else, you will get the results, the output of the results of what we are looking for, which is a more assertive leader. We talk about the 4 tones of the voice in our organization as well. And those 4 tones of the voices are the passive voice, the passive aggressive voice, the aggressive voice, and the gold standard, which is the assertive voice. Every leader should understand how to utilize his or her communication, body language, I should say verbal communication. Let me put it like verbal communication and nonverbal communication in order to facilitate what we are going to be talking about today. Meaning that you have certain traits that you have available to you. Utilizing those combined verbal, nonverbal communication will end up with a certain result. More respect for you as a leader, higher morale within the organization, even in your department, and better output or better collaboration amongst team members. There's a lot that can go on when you elevate and really tap into your assertive leadership skills. Assertiveness is the key. Again, there's a fine line that you don't want to cross between assertiveness and being aggressive. You don't want to dumb it down too much to where that the assertiveness becomes more passive or passive aggressive. So let's leverage our conversation. Let's take a look here at what we're going to be talking about today. All right. So first of all, we have some information regarding how we're going to position our assertiveness. So we're going to start here with assert. This is the process. This is your process that you're looking at, A.S.S.E.R.T. And of course, that is an acronym. So we're going to be utilizing assertiveness or assert from assertiveness as a teaching methodology and point here we're going to utilize. All right, so let's dive into it. First of all, let's talk about mastering the ASSERT framework for leadership. This is a 6-step progression to move leaders away from being passive and aggressive and passive aggressive behaviors towards intentional, being decisive, and being respected as a leader. Key words there: intentional, meaning that we are doing this on purpose at will. Because why? Because we get the end result that we want. So making sure that we are intentional about what we're doing. Decisive. We have to be decisive. People respect you being decisive, not indecisive. So just having that opportunity available for us is going to really leverage us into the right area. Okay, let's start with the A first, assert. Here we are. So internal mastery and clarity. This is very, very important. Every leader should have internal mastery as his or her plight in order to master oneself. Internal mastery. What does that look like? It looks like awareness, first of all. Self-awareness. So knowing yourself first. So the identify emotional triggers and communication habits to move from reactive to intentional leadership. This is key. You must know your triggers. Be very, very honest with yourself. In fact, one of the founding sessions of our sessions that we institute with the organization, session number 2, we start talking about and diving into what your triggers are. What are your pet peeves? So things that bother you, things that can get under your skin and have you elevate from an emotional standpoint. You have to learn how to control those things. You have to learn how to control the reaction from those things. That's what I'm just going to say. So other people could be outside. They're going to be the one pushing the buttons. You deliberately and intentionally have to decide not to get triggered by those triggers. So you have to have a high level of self-awareness. You have to have internal control, emotional control. You have to be able to feel when you're getting more elevated from an emotional standpoint. You also have to be able to feel when you're going down from a depressed standpoint. So these are all awareness opportunities that every leader has for himself or herself. So you have to understand that, first of all, the first A, you have to be aware. Now, we teach our 3 levels of awareness. Talk about self-awareness, talk about others' awareness, talk about situational awareness. Right now, we're only talking about just you being aware of oneself, self-awareness, okay? So the next point that we're going to talk about is now self-confidence. You have to have the self-confidence. We have a modality called the 5 parts of the self. Self-control is one of those pillars, one of the 5. Self-esteem, self-image, self-worth, and self-control. Self-confidence, understanding that you have the trust in your abilities, your qualities, and your judgments. That's what self-confidence is. You trusting in your abilities, your qualities, and your judgments. So you have to really trust your voice. And what that means is that we have to build decisiveness and executive presence into who we are. Decisiveness and executive presence to transform from hesitant to trusted leader. I don't know one leader that's assertive that also understands his or her presence and aware of that and understand to utilize that executive presence that is deficient in terms of being a trusted leader, deficient in his or her decisiveness. No, that is a correlation, a direct output of you understanding your voice and being confident in your voice, you trusting in your abilities, your qualities, and judgments. That's an important factor. What happens is if you don't trust that, then people will also notice that, and then they will not trust you as a leader as well. Okay, let's go to the next one. Speak clearly. Second S, speak clearly. I'm big on communication. And I've made videos about communication that has really pissed people off, for lack of a better phrase, because of some of the very draconian things I said in the video about being very communicative or understand how communication works. See, over here, we teach that communication is a strategy. And part of that strategy is being clear. We have what we call 15 C's of communication, and understanding one is clear, or clarity, understanding how to be complete in your communication, understand how to be considerate, understand how to be courteous in your communication, but you have to speak clearly. Have to be able to enunciate all the syllables in the word. Have to be able to pronounce words correctly. Have to be able to string words together in an articulate manner. We're very, very big on that. Ineffective leaders are not good communicators. And they don't become good leaders, effective leaders, until they become good communicators. There's a direct correlation there. So we have to understand that using the I statements and or we statements, what we call individual speech technique or the inclusive speech technique as well, understanding how that can elevate your level of leadership. Clear, and making sure that you request to ensure that you are understood, right? Making sure that we are clear and we have clarity in what we're talking about. So the next one that we're going to talk about, and again, I promise you, if you utilize this, this will work and have you be more assertive leader. Engaging others, or your engagement with others. Listen for buy-in. You have to turn on the listening skills. I should say even more so, let me be more emphatic, the active listening skills. If you have your active listening skills up to par, then you will do well as a good communicator, but you can also read between the lines, see the gray areas, things that leaders should be able to understand how to facilitate in terms of understanding and ambiguity or mitigating ambiguity. So practice active listening and empathy to earn buy-in rather than forced compliance. As a leader, you shouldn't have to twist anyone's arm in order to get them to do something. And I always tell leaders this: here's a good litmus test about how influential you are as a leader. Ask if someone would volunteer for a project, the next time you're around your round table, and see who raises their hand for volunteering. It's one of the good litmus tests there in order to understand how they see you as leader. But you have to have the listening skills on, the active listening skills in order to get buy-in. Buy-in is important. And you want to look for buy-in in the verbal and the nonverbal. And they could say one thing and the body say one thing verbally and the body is saying another thing. And most likely what the body is saying with the nonverbal communication, that's the one that's actually the truth. We tend to mask the truth with the words that we say. If you go to the body, you understand how to read body language as well, totally from video, then you understand that as well. Understand how to read between the lines and connect the dots and see what really is the truth. So engaging others. The R, respect boundaries, protect standards. Every leader has his or her standards, and the leader should set the standards in the department as well. Set the standards in the organization so it can permeate the culture of the organization or permeate the culture of the department. Meaning that if you have certain standards, hey, this is how we're going to address each other. Here's how we're going to manage conflict. Here's how we're going to resolve conflict, and all that portrays into a certain way of doing things, our standard, our principles in which we abide by. So enforce expectations and say no. It's one of the things that we fight with balance with people, understanding how to say no. As an assertive leader, you have to understand how to say no. Now I go a little bit further. I say, hey, especially to superiors, learn how to say no without saying no. Again, another teaching for another thought process, but understanding how to say no and knowing when you really feel no and say no. Don't teeter around. Don't walk on eggshells. Stand firm, 10 toes down, and say no. That's what it's all about. To ensure you are respected by others. Saying no and not being compliant or not being a sycophant will build respect. Most people think that they'll get respect by being the sycophant, being the yes man or the yes woman. It's like, no, no, no. You don't need to brown nose. We don't need to be a sycophant. We need to stand firm in our position and our standards and our principles and say no when no is apropos. Okay, so that's another aspect of things. Take responsibility, own the outcome. This is where we talk about accountability. You have to take responsibility, own the outcome. That's up to us personally. This is very, very internal. Once we do this, we can also hold others to the same standard of being accountable and understanding expectations. So take full ownership of decisions and results. Listen to the words there that we put in there, decisions and results. Because sometimes the decision might not get the result that you want, but that's okay, because we know that we can take ownership of this, and we know that through collaboration and particular use of resources, we can become, or we can have the outcome that we want. Assertive leaders know that, and they will assert themselves into the position and or say the right things in order to get the resources that are required for the proper outcome. That's what it's all about. We have to make sure we manage that. So the decisions and results to build organizational dependability. That's what it's all about. Making sure that we have that sufficiently organized in how we do things in the organization. Now, again, every leader, go back here for a second, every leader should understand how to assert himself, herself into a particular opportunity. And that comes by way of understanding who you are and what you do there at the organization, and being able to position this assertive leadership skill set the proper way. So we go to the next one here, final one here, and then I'll show you the entire graphic. Leadership transformation achieved. That's what we're looking for. So the old behavior versus the new behavior, the old outcome versus the new outcome. Understanding that from a communication standpoint, ambiguous and passive, old behavior. The new standard that we're setting in the organization is we're understood and we're clear about the direction, clear about the instructions, clear about whatever it is, the expectations and whatnot. Very, very clear in order to facilitate the proper way to move forward within the organization and or your department. Decision making. We go from hesitant and delayed decision making to decisive and confident. Decisive and confident, not indecisive, not hesitant, but making sure we're confident in understanding we can trust in how we trust in our abilities, our qualities, and our judgments. And then finally, the team dynamic. Can't forget about the team dynamic. The old behavior, forced compliance. Forced compliance. You have to twist someone's arm in order to get them to do something. The new behavior is all about collaboration and buy-in. Collaboration, how we're working together, communicating together, engaging within each other in a proper way, and getting the buy-in. That's what we're all about at Seduire International, understanding that you being an assertive leader has everything to do with your success and your growth as a leader. There's a direct correlation between your assertiveness level, not making a promise, but as we have seen in their promotions and getting and being assertive, being promoted as a leader, being recognized and seen as a leader that is formidable within the organization and therefore elevated by the powers that be. All right, folks, that's my spiel for today. If you want to make sure that your organization can also tap into being an assertive leader, we also have a book on it. We get the book when we start the teaching. But if you're ready to improve your organization PEP, the productivity, efficiency, and profitability, make sure that we get on the call and we'll schedule a call to make sure that you take our PPS assessment. This is where we talk about the levers and how the levers are pulled in order to get the desired outcome. Schedule a call. Go to Seduire International, SEDUREINTL.com/strategy session. Fill in the form, comes to us here directly, and we'll have a conversation. Also, make sure you like the video wherever you're watching it. Make sure you also subscribe. We look forward to hearing from you. Talk to you later. Granison Shines out. Bye.